going on, everybody? It's Steve here with the Season 6 review. We started off the season in the group of death. We had Sam, me, and Tay, all champs of this league. We had Jace, champ of another league. We had AC, two-time runner-up of this league. And we had Bohm, whose first season in this league he was the regular season champ. So I ended up 4-3, same with Tay. Same differential score as Tay and AC. Ended up facing Braff in the playoffs. Beat Braff 2-0 and then beat Sam 2-0, only to lose to Tay in the finals 1-2. But I brought out that spicy tech with the topsy-turvy grab locked and the Endure Rocky Helmet Salazzle. So that was good to show at least. Some positives on my team. This is easily the highest offensive power that my teams have ever had. Crobat with a decent attack stat, Salazzle with a high special attack, Drago with Dragon's Maw, and both of these attack stats is crazy. Diggersby with huge power, Magneton with a huge special attack stat, Prim, Grablock, and Delmize physical attackers. Oppressive offense on this team. Even Corviknight at 87 is useful. And when I had Incin, it was 120 attack. Frostmoth was 120 special attack or something like that. My type synergy is really good. I got the Fire, Water, Grass. I got Fairy Dragon Steel, 2 Steels. I am missing the Dark type from Incin. We'll get into that. We got the Psychic, and I wish I had a Graplocked Fighting type. Good type synergies all around. My top mons had good move and item variability. Crobat came 7 weeks with 5 different items and 21 different moves. If anyone has ever used a mon with more than 21 moves, let me know, because this seems crazy to me. Prim didn't have that much variability. 7 weeks, 4 items is pretty good. I ran Wakanberry 3 times and 12 moves. Goth only ran 2 items. Focus Sash once when I had Eviolite Magneton. 13 moves is pretty good though. And Regidrago only has 15 usable moves. I brought 11 of them and 5 different items. Iron Ball was there, Scarf was there, Dragon Fang, Eject Pack, Citrus Berry. Lots of usable things on Drago. Drago's a champ. 11 mons were brought to 3+ weeks. All of the ones you see here. No, Corviknight only came 1 week. Barbaracle and Frostmoth each also only came 1 week. But all mons with 2+ games played had a kill. So that's everybody you see here, plus Incin, minus Frostmoth and Barbaracle, and Metapod, obviously. That was just a joke. What happened to my negatives? Oh, they're there. Okay. Here's some stats to go over before we get to the negatives. My kill leaders: Prim at 16, Drago at 15, Delmize 11, Graplock 9, 7 of those in the quarterfinals. And KD ratio, Graplocked and Prim, well over 4. But that doesn't tell the whole story. They did have a decent win rate. But there you got Delmize with 2.2, but only a 43% win rate. Dig a little bit deeper, you look at the deaths. 7 games played, 5 deaths, 4 losses. So when Delmize died, I only won 1 game. It's pretty all in on a mon like that. And Diggersby only came 4 times, won 4 games. However, 2 of those games he came in, died, and literally did nothing. So stats don't tell the whole picture. Corviknight also at 4 and 100, but only played the 2 games. Was definitely instrumental in getting to the playoffs, but hard to bring after that, considering who I played. Team negatives: way too much offense and not enough support. My support basically relied on Incin and Goth early in the season, and then when I traded Incin, I added Salazzle and Lopunny to those 2, to make 3 supports. I would have definitely rather had more supportive mons in place of, say, Diggersby, or who else didn't I bring a lot? Magneton, maybe? Or over... Nah, I needed Corviknight to make playoffs, so not over Corviknight. But speaking of the trades, I made the trades specifically to make playoffs. I got rid of Ensign for Salazzle to play Jace, because Jace had Celesteela. Ensign isn't good enough into Celesteela, or the rest of his team, to be honest. Salazzle was needed to have a faster fake out than Thwacky, and also overheat Oko the Celesteela. That was a good trade. I will get into it more later in this video, but I think Salazzle is more usable on a team than Ensign as a support. And proved it because I think I brought Salazzle every week after I picked it up. Lopunny was also quite useful. That was mainly brought against Boom for fake out and annoyance pressure from the during the Perish Trap strat, but I also brought it against Braff with Thunder and High Jump Kick, and I brought it against Sam with Thunder Wave and Charm and Triple Axle. Didn't come to either of those. Like, it didn't play in either of those series, but I brought it. Other negatives, my Trick Room mode is too fast. As you see here, really only Graplocked and Delmise are super usable in Trick Room, and even then, if most teams have something in around the base 30s. So I need to slap an Iron Ball on there or something, or slow myself down. I did do Iron Ball Drago, and I did Hammer Arm Drago to slow myself down a couple times, but it's hard to get my Trick Room mode going, and I have very little counter to Trick Room. Gothorita doesn't even have Imprison. I didn't have a lot of taunt options. Corviknight has taunt for some reason. Goth has taunt. That Honest Salazzle, I think, has taunt, but that might be it. All in all, I think this is probably one of my worst assembled teams ever. It's just, it was so overwhelmingly powerful that it allowed me to get to the finals. I don't think any team I've ever had, and honestly most teams I've ever seen, have this much firepower. So there are definite ways to take this strategy or this kind of team composition and make it better by dropping some of that high power, grabbing more support. It was an entertaining season. This is the awards nominations. AC and I both have 3 games nominated for most entertaining game. Jace also nominated this one, but so did I. Bohm nominated our game, and AC nominated our game as well. And then in best moment, this is the one I picked, but Tay picked his match against me, where he absolutely annihilated me, and Jace picked the double protect. So yeah, everyone likes playing me, I guess, which that feels good. Best moments, game 2 of the finals, I had the Rocky Helmet, Salazzle, which not only got 3 procs against Urshifu as planned, but it also procced against the Mandibas on foul play. And I got the Topsy-Turvy off onto the Draco Meteor, Regidrago, so that I could, I think I killed something with Dragon Pulse after that. Versus HGC, we had the Scarf Round Crobat with Primarina, Liquid Voice Round. That was pretty cool. Got the Perish Trap win versus Bohm. Soak Graplocked against Jace, which allowed Delmise to Oko Eviolite Thwacky, which was pretty freaking crazy, but just not enough power to get through Celesteela. And then the double protect, of course. Then against Braff in the quarterfinals, 7-0 Graplocked. A lot of Graplocked represented. This one is hilariously underpriced. 3 points? Come on. It has 118 attack. It has good defenses. Like, this mon is crazy. So, that's it for my team. Let's get into Incineroar. I want to preface this by saying that none of the mons I'm about to mention are inherently better than Incineroar. Incineroar does so much that there is no other mon that can replicate what Incineroar does completely. However, Incineroar almost always costs near the top of the point board. And unless you're building your team around Incineroar, I don't think it's worth that. So what do you want Incin for? I've listed some things here. We got Fake Out, Intimidate, Darken Fire, Parting Shot, Coverage, and the attack stat. Those are the things you want Incineroar for. He's got crazy coverage. I think he's got basically every type. I didn't check to verify that, but he's even got Dragon. He's got Outrage. He's probably missing Fairy. He's definitely missing Fairy. Those are the things you want Ensign for. Let's take a look in depth at who can add these tools to your team if you don't want to pay 20 to 18 points for one Mon that does all of these things. First, there's some negatives of Incineroar, right? We've got the easily exploitable weaknesses. Every team is going to have a water type. Every team is going to have a ground type, probably. If not a ground type, they're going to have high horsepower, and every team is going to have Rock Slide. Fighting is a little bit more rare, but those are three very exploitable weaknesses that every team is going to be able to cover for. And you can only bring one berry to cover for, right? You can bring Pasho, you can bring Shuka, you can bring Chardy, or you can just bulk out to live a hit, but then you're dying in turn 2 as well. It's hard to bring versus Defiant and competitive because you don't want to play Blaze because Blaze sucks. Obviously this isn't going to matter against most teams, but it could. It's too slow to go fast, and it's too fast to go slow with that base 60 speed. You can't really run them in Trick Room that reliably unless there's like a hyper fast, like Regieleki team. And even in Tailwind, if somebody just lowers your speed once, you're still going slower than other fast teams. And even though it does have around 50 usable moves, I counted, it's got 4 move slot syndrome. If you want Fake Out, there goes one. If you want Protect, there goes another. Now you only get 2 of those vast coverage moves. And if you want Double Stab, there's your entire move set. You got to get really creative with this guy, and like I said before, I think he's got to be one of your main ideas going into every week if you want to use him correctly. Now let's get into the individual reasons of why you shouldn't draft Ensign. There are 35 usable Mons with a faster Fake Out than Ensign, which means that your Fake Out is going to go first unless Ensign is Scarfed. I have just listed the Dark and Fire types here. If you want a Dark type, I forgot to cross out Meowth. That's not one of the draftable ones. But if you want a Dark type with Fake Out, here is 10 Dark type Mons with a faster Fake Out than Ensign. Not only that, we've got some Prankster Mons, we've got Inner Focus, we've got Super Bulk with Persian, we've got Chlorophyll if you want Shiftry. Obviously, Shiftry is nowhere near as good as Ensign. Obviously. But we've got multiple Prankster Mons here. Great options for your Dark type. Fire type, there's literally only Salazzle and Torracat. Salazzle is certainly one of the best Fake Out Mons in the format, with this huge special attack stat and this massive speed. It's only slower than Weavile. Torracat with an Eviolite is going to be bulkier, and it doesn't take the fighting type super effective attacks. And then we have the Intimidates. I've crossed out Litten here, and honestly you could even draft Litten if it's a lower power format, but Torracat, Hitmontop, Scrafty, and Scraggy, all with Intimidate and Fake Out. Obviously Scrafty and Scraggy are slower than Ensign, but they're also bulkier, and I would argue with better typing. So what else? Parting Shot. One of the other things that makes Ensign unique. So Intimidate and Pivoting. There's 18 usable Intimidate Mons. I am including Krokorok and Luxio in there. You may not, that is fine. If you want Intimidate and Parting Shot, that's only Torracat. U-Turn, you got Torracat and Landorus. Flip Turn, there's nothing, not even Quillfish. Volt Switch, you have the Luxray line, and I guess if you want Baton Pass, you have Mawile. If you want something with Intimidate and Pivot, I would recommend getting the Torracat with Eviolite. It's bulkier than Ensign, and it can still fire off, overheats off of a good special attack stat. Luxio and Luxray also have their niche where they're only weak to one move. They lack a bunch of resistances, but also a good option if you want to pivot. Intimidate and Status. Ensign's only status infliction is Burn. Directly, you can run Will-O-Wisp or something like Burning Jealousy, unless you run Body Slam or Thunder Punch, in which case you're going for Paralysis. The rest of these listed here are Mons with specific status inflicting moves, so Will-O-Wisp, Yawn, Thunder Wave, Toxic, etc. So if you want Intimidate and Burn, Add Arcanine to that, as well as Torracat. Paralysis, you've got Luxray and Luxio. If you want Paralysis or Sleep, get the Stoutland line. If you want Paralysis or, for some reason, Poison, Quillfish and Gyarados are there. They both have Thunder Wave and Toxic. Tauros also has Toxic if you just want an Intimidate and Toxic Mon. I'm not sure why you would want that. Maybe to force switches so you come back in. Most of the time, I think Intimidate plus Yawn is going to be more useful than any Will-O-Wisp that Incin is going to be bringing. But if you do want Intimidate plus Will-O-Wisp, I think Arcanine or Torracat are going to do that job better. Arcanine is faster, has a better typing. Just sometimes Dark type will occasionally be useful, of course. And Stoutland and Herdier are both very bulky. They don't have a ton of resistance. Well, they have no resistances, but they have the immunity to Ghost. They only have the one weakness. You can Yawn. You could even... he's got decent attack stats. There's other annoying moves. You've got Baby Doll Eyes on those guys. So if you want status, Arcanine or the Stoutland line. Intimidate and Support. Here's some good support moves that Incin has. Of course, Taunt, Roar, Growl is uniquely useful in doubles. Scary Face, Snarl, Bulldoze, Sunny Day. And here's some other Intimidate Mons that do these things just as well. You got 3 Roar Mons, you got 5 Taunt Mons, 13 of the 18 that I talked about before have Scary Face, 8 of them have Bulldoze, 10 have Sunny Day, and 5 of them have Snarl. Here's some other good support options that are missing on Incin. Got Helping Hand, Wide Guard, Quick Guard, Light Screen, Icy Wind, Haze, Dragon Tail, Safeguard, Howl, Leer, Coaching, Rain, Sand, Hail, Fake Tears. There's probably more. I just stopped looking once I got to Fake Tears. I think if you want something specifically for support, your best bet is Hitmontop and Scrafty. This is a funny picture I found of Hitmontop, Scrafty, and Medicham beating up a Whimsicott for some reason. Hitmontop provides a lot. You've got Helping Hand, Wide Guard, Quick Guard. You got the Fake Out, obviously, and Intimidate. It has the Bulldoze. And it has a really good attack stat, as well as very good defenses, and the pure fighting type. Scrafty, of course, providing the Taunt and Snarl. I think it has Quick Guard as well. It'll also work better in Trick Room than Incin, and both of those have Coaching. And Rain Dance, I think. Hitmontop also uniquely has Sand. Yeah. If you want good Intimidate support, those two, or Scraggy. Scraggy also fits in there. Intimidate and Setup. Here's a weird Gyarados Mega Salamence fusion, because in my opinion, they're the best options for Intimidate and Setup because of Dragon Dance. In terms of Incin, you got Bulk Up, Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, and Work Up. Nasty Plot would be a pretty funky thing to bring. A lot of Intimidate Mons don't have good setup, though. So that's why I highlight Gyarados and Mence. Dragon Dance obviously raising the speed and the attack. You have Swords Dance on these 3, mainly useful on Landorus. Bulk Up, hit the fighting types, Lando and Crook. Work Up is probably not usable on any of these, and probably not usable on Incin either. Lando has Calm Mind for some reason, if you wanted to do that. Got a few Iron Defense Mons. Scrafty, of course, would have Body Press, which would be useful. And Agility, in case you want to go even faster. So if you want Intimidate and Setup, get yourself one of those two. Intimidate and useful secondary abilities. I think this is the biggest knockdown on Incin, is that it basically has to run Intimidate to have a useful ability, because Blaze sucks unless you're under 30%, and it does not have the speed to take advantage of Blaze, like something like Cinderace would if you didn't want to run Libero for some reason. Arcanine has 2 incredibly useful abilities, Justified and Flash Fire. Justified if you have a beat-up strat going on, Flash Fire if you're facing, say, Heatran. Well, maybe not a Heatran, because it also has Flash Fire. Blanking on other fire types, like a Cinderace. Switch into a Cinderace. Fire attack. all of them have Moxie for some reason. 4 of the Intimidate mods, plus their, Scraggy and Krokorok also have Moxie. So that's 6 out of the 18 usable Intimidators have Moxie. Take a quick KO, you can run Scarf Crook, get a high horsepower off, and just start sweeping with high horsepower. Luxray's got Guts, probably not going to run it too often, but it could definitely be useful. Stoutland's 2 abilities are also very useful. Sand Rush if you have a sand mode. Scrappy to hit those ghost types that think they're safe from a body slam or a facade. Tauros and Mawile, mainly Tauros, using Sheer Force to get that boost in power. And Quillfish with a Swift Swim if you want a Swift Swim team. And Poison Point could occasionally be useful as well. But for great secondary abilities, literally anything other than Incin and Torracat is useful. But I would primarily focus on Arcanine, and I think Stoutland would be the next best because it also has 2 very usable abilities. In summary, don't draft Incin as a support. Like I was talking about before with Salazzle, it was way better on my team as a support than Incin was. If you only want Fake Out, Parting Shot, Intimidate, and a Fire type, I think Eviolite Torracat is better. It'll always be 6 to 8 points lower than Incin, and it does the exact same thing while being bulkier and not being weak to fighting. Also not immune to Psychic, but that'll only come up occasionally. I do think it's valued too highly, but if you build your team around Incin, it could definitely be worth it. In the format that we have, where you have to spend all your points, I don't know if that's ever going to be possible. Or what that team would even look like. Maybe if somebody wants to theory craft a good Incin team, let's talk about it. Until then, here's my next season teaser. And that'll be it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next season with the Daddy Plant Part 2. Peace.